Signs of the Southland, Happy New Year, and episode 199. Gentlemen, we have a very exciting show to kick off 2024. But first of all, I was out last week, but how are y'all's vacations? How are we doing to start off 24? Any fun New Year's resolutions that you're going to kick off the year with?
Just want to win games, man. It's pretty simple.
Win games, have fun.
Yeah.
My trip to check out the From the Rumble Seat Chicago office was very productive. All of our staff up there are doing wonderful, and by that I mean I hung out at my parents' house. But that was fun.
Hang out with your parents' house in a second office, your childhood bedroom.
Yes.
Never better. Never
Never better.
better. I think we have a bunch of topics to get to. I think we'll start with football signing day. This kind of took us by surprise a little bit because the football roster construction calendar is now completely in flux because NIL, transfer portal, transfer windows. It's all a mess. But December signing day came and went. I think there are 20 some odd names on this list that you put together for us, Jack. 24/7 has Tech, excuse me, at 41st overall in the country. Some standout names from the December signing day, and I think there are a couple transfers here that I'll mention as well. Aaron Philo, quarterback from Prince Avenue Christian School. He got a lot of views during the state championship series of games a couple of weeks ago. That was good to see. Luke Harpring, you might remember that last name, a tight end from Marist. He was a four-star recruit, so that'll be fun to watch the development of the further development of the tight end position again at Georgia Tech. Troy Stevenson, the fourth defensive back from Philip Simmons High School, another four-star. Isaiah Canyon, a wide receiver from Warner Robins, also a four-star. Two guys that I know have been getting a lot of press from our writers' room, a lot of excitement from them. For them. And then Trelane Maddox is the last name I want to mention, a Parkview HS grad running back. Looks like another really quality addition to what has been a very good running back room the last couple of years. So, gentlemen, any notes on these guys? Anyone you want to name or talk a little bit about first, Jack?
Well, I mean, Philo got a lot of that recognition at the state championship because he broke Trevor Lawrence's Georgia high school state passing yards record in his game out there at the championship game in Mercedes-Benz. So he is the all-time passing leader for the state of Georgia at this point. Someone else broke Lawrence's record for rushing touchdowns this year as well, I want to say, in high school. So there's been a couple of really good quarterbacks coming out of Georgia just in general. And thankfully we got one of them. So that was big for us to have him.
I think the knock on Philo is that he's in like single A or something like that.
Yeah,
But
he's not in
I
one of the, yeah,
mean,
he's not in one of the big ones. Yeah, he played first night at the championships, and that's saved for
it's like single A private or something.
yeah.
But you look at I mean, you break Trevor Lawrence's stats even in single A. I think you're doing something
You know,
right. I assume
yeah, yeah.
there are a bunch of transfers here that I forgot to mention. A number of interesting school origins here. Yale, Mississippi State, which two of those could not be farther apart on the spectrum of comparison there. Tennessee, one from Tennessee, one from Louisville, one from the school out east. And I want to say there was one from Furman as well. So a wide selection of talent. A lot of guys that I think, and there was one from Florida State as well that came in a couple days ago. So a pretty wide selection of talent. I think Tech has started to look at that sort of what I think you would call a distressed asset, except these aren't really assets. They don't have contracts. So um, they've started to look at that distressed asset kind of class at other programs that are maybe better than them. And they think, hey, like, we're going to take your second string guy that maybe he fell off the radar after an injury and he got supplanted. and we're going to put him into our system and see how he fits. I think that was the case actually with I think the Tennessee and FSU guys. That was sort of their situation. They got injured, they fell off of the starting roster, and they just got lost in the mix. So taking advantage of those kind of distressed assets, I think, is going to lead to good, hopefully lead to good outcomes for Tech. The last bit of news that I have on the football front is that Tech has reportedly, according to Jackets Online, I believe was the first one on this, they
Yep.
have signed Jess Simpson to be their new defensive coordinator with the departures of Andrew Thacker and
Defensive
Travaris
assistant,
Tillman.
not a coordinator, not a coordinator.
Defensive assistant.
Yes.
Excuse me, defensive assistant. It says coach, or no, he was a Duke coach, DC, and
Yeah.
DL coach. So that is my bad. But a couple of notes on Mr. Simpson. He was a long-time high school head coach at Buford, and then had stints with the Falcons, Miami Hurricanes, and then was most recently at Duke with, I believe, Mike Elko. So it's notable, I guess, to a certain level that he wasn't brought to Texas A&M when Elko jumped there. But I mean, Texas A&M's loss in that way is Tech's gain. It does bear mentioning that I don't think Tech has officially confirmed this. So it's still a report for what it's worth, but Jackets Online is usually pretty bang on with these things. So I see no reason to doubt the reporting here. Jack, any other notes on Simpson?
I think there's a theme that's happening here is maybe I remember a lot of us have been complaining about like Georgia and Atlanta is such a massive good talent pool. Why aren't we getting more guys from it? And Brent's been hiring guys or reportedly hiring guys over and over that can help solve that problem. Our recruiting guy that we got last year is one of the best in the state. And then Jess, obviously being at Buford for years, is another great guy to have in terms of just connection within the state. So, and that our competitive advantage is the state of Georgia, and we have to do everything we can to take advantage of that. So this is that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we get knocked for in some of that analysis that our friend on Twitter, Bud Davis, does is that if you look at Tech's expected recruiting value just based on, or expected recruit rating just based on where they sit in just by geography and just by the level of talent that's around them, they actually place far below the line in terms of their expectation. And really, like you're right, really investing in the community and taking some of these guys that have longstanding ties to specific Georgia high schools that are generating talent at a really good clip. I think that it's a good process that should lead to good outcomes. Right. So that I can sit and personally be excited about. Let's move over to McCamish Pavilion. Let's talk about women's basketball, who are actually down in Tallahassee. They unfortunately lost to number 22 FSU by 15. I don't want to spoil exactly what happened here. I'm just going to kind of give you the mic, Jack, and just sort of tell you to roll with it here.
I mean, allowing 95 points in a 40-minute basketball game is generally not a good thing. Scoring 80 is
Tell
a
that
good
to the
thing.
Hawks.
Good Lord, yeah. Scoring 80 is a good thing, but you can't allow 95. Tania Lotson, who is the sophomore guard for Florida State, she torched us for over 30 points in both games against us last year, and she did it again in this game. We don't know how to stop her over and over, and she's done this to a lot of other teams. It's not just us, but she's very hard to beat. Kara Dunn scored 24. Kayla Baxter scored 22. It's very rare that we score 80 and lose, and yet here we are. Last year, this game probably would have been like 95 to 60 something instead of 95 to 80. So I think this is where the improvement is. But defense is just not to be seen. I'll note, though, Inez Noguera was hurt and did not play. I don't even know if she traveled with the team, but she's been very much one of the primary defenders on the perimeter, and we just didn't have that in this game. So, and that Florida State was able to take advantage of it. They shot the three ball well. We did it all right, too. The big problem here is both teams made 9 free throws, but we missed 10 of them, and they didn't miss a single one. Can't go sub 500 on free throws. And we've done that twice now. So
tell that to the men's team.
Yeah. which is odd for the women because they were like it. We were young and not that great last year as we were supposed to be, but we were overperform. We were doing really well in free throw shooting, and most of that team is still here. And there isn't a night I don't see Tony Morgan missing at least 4 free throws out of 6 opportunities. So things gotta get a little bit better there.
I think I've spent too much digital ink and also like audio ink. I don't know. This metaphor came out weird, but I spent way too much time on this podcast, and I think writing about it, talking about how it just simply cannot be this hard to make free throws at the
I know,
collegiate level.
I know.
That you're not being defended. Like I understand that there's like high pressure elements to it, but it's reps.
There was
It's
maybe
repetition.
there were not many people at this game. It was not the crowd that was going to be intimidating or anything like that. It was a few days after Christmas. No one was there. So yeah, they cannot expect to win and play like they did against Florida State. Granted, Florida State's number 22 in the country, and we have a lot of ranked games this year. I think there's 6 other teams that could be ranked or are currently ranked that we still have on the schedule, including Florida State again. So it's not going to get any easier.
I think one of the things that I find interesting about this game, or maybe more frustrating than interesting, is that this was fairly close until right around the
Yeah,
middle of the third
one
quarter,
point.
right?
It was a 1 point game at half, and then in the third quarter, Lawton had a 3 point play to start. We got it to 50-50, and then the Florida State went on a 9-0 run, and we never recovered from that. The 10 point game by the end of the third quarter, and they just destroyed us in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, we held it for a while, but
Hey.
young teams can keep it close for a while. Like any team can hold it together, but then eventually you just lose the floor, and that's what happened here. So,
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Tech will be back in action at I guess the middle of this week. We're recording on Monday. Calendar is dumb. Versus Virginia. That'll be at home at 7 p.m. on ACC Network. That is January 4th, which I believe is Thursday. Friday?
yep, Thursday. Yep.
Let's swap over to the men's side of McCamish Pavilion. I think y'all talked about the Hawaii Classic a little bit in our last episode, but I don't know if you got to the championship game of the tournament, which was versus Nevada. It was a fight. It was a long night watching that game. Ultimately, Tech came away with the loss. I don't have the final score in front of me, but I am digging it up as we speak. It was a 72-64 loss. I think that final score is a little bit rougher than what the actual performance was. I think the final score probably should have been, or the final margin probably should have been 4 or something and not 8. I think those last couple of fouls towards the end of the game kind of juiced this one. A kind of frustrating defensive performance in this one for Tech. Keenan Blackshear, who you might recognize that last name as someone that Caleb Blackshear. Keenan is Caleb's brother and plays for Nevada. Keenan Blackshear put together a 30 burger against Tech in this game in Hawaii with his sister and his assumedly his mother in attendance. And both cheering for Nebraska or not Nebraska, Nevada and not Georgia Tech. And that is generally not a recipe for victory in these kinds of games. Mr. Grant, I think you were watching this one alongside us. Do you have any notes on this one?
Yeah, it was a deeply frustrating game. Nevada's a good team. Nevada did get some calls. No need to rock the boat with the Blackshear split household there, but definitely some friendly rolls or friendly whistles in terms of getting to the stripe. But that's something that Tech has kind of found themselves letting opponents have all year. So I don't know if that's a ref thing or just not playing clean ball, which is why I kind of throw that one out with the bathwater. But a win against Nevada would have been a quad 1 win. Those are evaluated very highly by the committee at the end of the year. So it is tough not to have that, but it's certainly no losing to an Alabama A&M or something like that. Nevada is at least in most metrics a bubble team. I think it's one you want back. The final score was closer than the 8 point margin they were fouling at the end. I think it's one of those games where it's like, yep, Georgia Tech is not a top 25 team. They're not currently built that way, and you can't expect to win all these coin flippy games because in reality we played three very high variance games out in Hawaii, and to come back 2-1 with a loss being against the best other team in the field, you're doing all right, I think.
I think one of the things that I find interesting looking back at the box score here is that Nevada shot almost 50% from the field. I mean, 49, but you get the point. And Tech somehow was in this game the entire time, despite shooting 6 for 26 from three. And I think we saw this multiple times when Tech came up the floor and passed up, driving opportunities, mid-range shots, or even getting to the basket to take threes from either the corner or the top of the key. And I think I remember one very clear possession towards the end of the game where they got three offensive rebounds, or excuse me, two offensive rebounds in the same possession and went three, miss three, offensive rebound, miss three, offensive rebound, miss three, defensive rebound. Nevada goes back down the other way and I think hits a three themselves. And so it was just this constant battle for Tech of getting within one score and then never, or one bucket, honestly, and never really being able to cross that hump consistently. I mean, every time that they got within one bucket, they had something go horribly wrong, either a defensive error, Blackshear just goes crazy on them, or they have this endemic nature to just clank threes with regularity.
The three's been super high variance for them this year. I talked about that a little bit in the mailbag. Miles Kelly's taken a lot of them and has not made them at a high clip. Kawasi Reeves, Debo Coleman, Kyle Sturdivant a little bit higher. Kyle not on as much volume as the other two, but even then, it's a lot of feast or famine between that group of four, which have been the primary shooters from distance.
Yeah, and we talk about this team as trying to style themselves as proto NBA, right? In wanting to take more of and wanting to make their shot distributions more heavily reliant on threes. And I think you have to see the basket better in order to make this count and to make this effective. And it's frustrating the way that things have worked out. Obviously, like there's an element of luck to it, right? Some things regress back to the mean or progress to the mean or whatever way you want to see it. But 6 of 26 in a single game sample is fairly damning, especially given some of those possessions where they went empty after taking multiple threes and not setting up a better shot.
To emphasize Bynadongo's presence here, and lack thereof, him and Ty Jean-Claude were pretty much going in and out together. They were each other's subs. The on-off split for Bai is huge. We were +9 when he was on the floor, -17 when he was off the floor. When Claude was on the floor, we were -15 when he was on and +7 when he was off. So we could not win this. We could not do anything with Bai off the floor. We scored 15 points with Bai off the floor, 49 with him on the floor. And he was and he scored a lot of points. He scored 20, 7 of 8. They made all those free throws. So this was Bai played only 26 minutes. Yeah, I know he gets a lot of run and he's playing hard minutes while he's down there, but I do wonder if you throw him out there for 30, what happens? So,
well, he was also in foul trouble most of this game, right?
He did have 4 fouls.
Pretty early.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's
he picked up 4 pretty early, and then you're forced into a situation where you sort of have to manage his minutes just so that he can actually play the rest of the game. And I thought, at least in a vacuum, they played that okay. Right, he got back in at moments where it mattered, at least from what I remember from this game.
Yeah,
it was just, and I think the plus minus is also there's a couple problems using plus minus for
There's
more
some,
holistic
yeah,
player
but
evaluation.
this offense is rolling through him though. Like when you sub out, but when you don't have the option to buy and you have to use Tyjon Claude instead, like that dramatically alters how we get defended as well. Like it is a full on game impactor, and also shows at least in this case we did not have a good way of creating good buckets without him on the floor. So, and if we couldn't do anything beyond dump it to him and him lay up the ball, there's problems there.
Yeah, I just don't know how much more run that we're gonna see with trying to. I guess maybe that's not the right way of putting it. At some point, I think some of this 3 point performance has to regress to the mean or progress to the mean in this case, because you just can't keep going empty like this. Like you can't have a drought like this forever.
Yeah.
Theoretically, I would really hope not. But again, like these kinds of performances, I'm amazed that they put 64 points on the board with six or 20 missed threes, right? Like yes, you get a benefit from continually shooting threes just because you'll make some of them and you get an extra point out of them, and it's a higher expected value. But just it's I'm amazed that this offense still generates points despite this being this reliant on the three ball tactically, not
Yeah.
even effectiveness wise, just tactically.
Yeah.
So there's something to that. I'm sure of it. Any other notes on men's basketball before we move on? I see nodding from both of you. So let's move on. Their next game will be actually at FSU in Tallahassee in 2 days on the 3rd. I guess tomorrow when you hear this, that'll be 7 p.m. on the ACC network. FSU, by the way, stinky season for them so far. They are
Shush.
not looking too hot.
Shush.
I'm not saying it in a jinxy way. I'm just saying
It's always a
Facts,
that
jinxy
it is
way.
what it
facts
is.
are facts, Jake.
Facts don't care about my feelings, but my feelings are still in danger right here. So, let's
You
just
know what
take care
else?
of business. How's that?
You know what else is in danger, Jake? You know what else is in
What?
danger? I'm
Oh
sure
boy.
it's the NCAA Men's Golf Championship. After this golf spring schedule, let's roll through it. I'm going to do our annual tradition of just reading through the schedule and then we're going to talk about it. Tech Golf starts its championship runner-up defense in Hawaii at the Amer Ari Intercollegiate on a February 8th through 10th. And then they're over to Florida for the Water Sound Invitational, the 19th through the 21st. In March, they visit the Lambkin San Diego Classic in Chula Vista, and not actually San Diego, on March 4th through the 5th. Then they'll be at the Linger Longer Invitational from the 17th through the 19th in Greensboro, Georgia. Then they make their annual appearance at the Goodwin in San Francisco. That'll be March 28th through the 30th. Calusa Cup is the final tournament before ACCs. That will be April 7th through the 9th. And then ACCs will be the April 19th through the 22nd, with NCAAs 2 weeks after that, or 3 weeks after that, excuse me, in May. Gentlemen, it is a long schedule. The NCAA championship is in Carlsbad, California this year at the Omni La Casa Resort and Spa. Tech brings back a pretty significant portion of the same roster that made a very, very compelling case for the title last year. Mr. Grant, you are our expert on Georgia Tech golf. How do you feel about this schedule?
It's very familiar. Lampkin is the only one that jumps off the page as being unfamiliar to me. What that means is we're probably going to see a lot of teams that we're pretty used to seeing. Georgia Tech really gets some high level competition in there. Obviously, it's golf, so you do inherently see many of the top teams, a lot of the same invitationals. They've been doing Ameriri as long as I can remember. I think they've changed the course around. I know they had to move islands at one point in the last year or two. So we'll see how Hapuna treats them there. But the Water Sound invite at Shark's Tooth and Linger Longer in Greensboro. The good one, I don't know if that's always at TPC Harding, but that comes to mind as being pretty familiar
I
as well.
think
And then, of
Goodwin is
course, the Cup.
occasionally at
Yeah.
Stanford's course. I think this is one
Yeah,
of the
that's
first
what I
times
was
it's
thinking of
been
too.
in San Francisco.
I think that was match play a couple of years ago. If I recall correctly, it was on Golf Channel, aired like on TV. So maybe we get that again. That'd be cool. It's honestly my biggest, not regret about golf, but it's just hard to catch them sometimes. It was very stressful watching golf last year. That was a good change. I usually just have to scoreboard watch and go, a bogey, or, a birdie, that kind of thing. But getting on the airwaves is nice too. ACC championship should be televised, particularly the match play rounds there. So at least circle that in the meantime.
Jack, before we go over to you, I just want to make one quick note on the Goodwin. It has a presenting sponsor of a VPN provider. This cannot be more Silicon Valley if it tried, legitimately. I'm sure Stanford is the host again, so
Oh yeah.
really this could not be more Silicon Valley if you tried. Jack, your thoughts on the schedule and how it sets up for Tech?
Here's what I like about Georgia Tech golf. It don't matter where we play.
Yeah.
We'll be all right. We should be all
What's
right.
what's the Jamal Haynes quote? We're coming soon to a town near you. I
Yep.
mean, these guys are that.
And we're
They're
coming
the
to
real
your
deal.
city.
Yes,
that
we're
too.
doing that. We're doing that. I mean, we got multiple fifth-year seniors here. Christo Lamprecht's still around, and I wonder if I'm going to see Christo Lamprecht in Paris actually at the Olympics, because he very well could get the South African nod for that tournament, which could be cool. So hopefully we parlay a national title and send some guys to Paris. That'd be fun. But I mean, regardless, this team is stacked. Like everyone's back, so I have no worries.
I could not imagine winning a national title, getting named to your country's national team for golf, a golf event, which has only re-existed for what, 8 years now,
Yeah, they've only done it
and
twice. Yeah.
twice since the original Olympics, and getting on a plane to Paris and playing what is ostensibly a very expensive, very nice Paris golf course.
Yeah, no, they're at Le Golf National, which was the host of the 18 Ryder Cup for that. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. So
That
yeah,
is that is insane. One note from me that I just found interesting while staring at this. The ACCs are at Charlotte Country Club, and obviously Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't think I've ever seen it at that site. This is an interesting
no,
one. I wonder who the local host is. I mean, it's not us, but usually it's one of those schools out there. It might be Clemson. I guess Clemson is the closest school.
I might go to
Actually,
that.
it's you, Akshay. You specifically are the host. So, get some teas and some cameras. Gotta get that underway.
We might have to pass around the hat of the podcast for a bit to really make hay for that one. And in an effort to start passing around the hat, time for a short break.
Yes. As always, this podcast is brought to you by section103.com. Stephen Little was our most recent Scions Extra guest today. I'm coming to you live to talk about the Coach hoodie. I mean this in the most loving way possible. It's kind of weird. It's like a t-shirt that has a hood. Very new concept for me, but I kind of dig it. So, go ahead and check out Section 103 for the wonderful delights that are the Coach hoodie shirt thing. Very soft, very comfortable. Just a new piece of clothing for me. So, great. Also, end of, the holiday season means Felice Bobby Dodd. It does, I assume, go away for another year, but you can catch all of the rest of the great Georgia Tech stuff that he's got over at the site. Free shipping on orders over $70 every day, but keep in mind code FTRS for 10% off Georgia Tech Coach hoodies, jerseys for NIL, all the good stuff, retro throwback type stuff. Junior's Grill, and things of that nature. So go give it a look over at section103.com and at section103 on Twitter.
Welcome back to Scions of the Southland, the first Scions episode of the new year. One thing that Jake didn't mention in his ad, because yes, we do record these live, he is currently cosplaying as Brent Key on Zoom with a backwards cap on and the coach hoodie on and navy pants on. So bravo to you for being extremely on topic for this podcast today.
The hat was inspiration courtesy of my peers or my co-hosts here. So you got them to thank.
Do you have a Coca-Cola beverage nearby to really sell the bit?
I have one of those steel cup things from State Farm Center. So sure. I think there was a Coke.
Hey, it's got a Sprite logo on it. I see that.
There you go. There you go. We are Coca-Cola school, so don't forget it.
It's Powerade. It's an incredible clip. Incredible clip. Gentlemen, I think it's time we indulge ourselves in a little thing that's been going around the internet, putting together a Mount Rushmore, at least for our purposes, a Georgia Tech themed Mount Rushmore, and not just one, gentlemen, a series of them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories for you to put together Mount Rushmores of 4 on, and I'm leaving how you decide your 4 for each category entirely up to you. If you want to do it just based on Georgia Tech specific performance, that's all right with me. If you want to do it solely based on their popularity outside of Georgia Tech, once they went pro, go for it. But the fact remains that you have to pick 4 for each category. Gentlemen, are you ready?
I think we are.
Lay it on me.
Let's do it. Let's start with Georgia Tech baseball. Mr. Purdy, what is your number 1 selection for Georgia Tech baseball's Mount Rushmore?
I'll preview that how I'm thinking about this, and I've texted with some folks once this came up in one of our mailbags where we got the inspiration to actually do this on the podcast. At Tech, performance definitely matters, but also continued relevance I think also matters as well. There are famous people like Chris Bosh who went to Tech for a time, but had not exactly kept themselves relevant to the Tech one, to the Tech life and whatnot. So, well, I love Chris Bosh and he's a great dude. I have his jersey and everything. Wouldn't make the cut in this case. So we're on baseball. I think it's a very clear cut number 1 pick in terms of past performance and future relevance, and that is Mark Teixeira.
Oh, come on, Jack.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
It's Jason Varitek at 1-1.
Yes.
Jason Varitek at 1-1.
This is exactly what we wanted.
Well, it's not a draft.
Varitek at 1-1.
I thought we were doing a draft. We're just figuring this out. There's 4 slots here.
No, we're not doing a draft.
There's no rankings here.
All right, hold on. Let him get all 4 out. Let him get all 4 out before we get mad. Jack, finish reading the other 3.
Teixeira's on there. Varitek obviously is on there. Like, yes, duh. I'm also putting Kevin Brown on there, and I don't know about Waiters or Nomar. I could go either way. Honestly, between the 3 of them, between the 3 of Kevin Brown, I put Brown on there because I want a pitcher on there, but between Kevin, Matt, and Nomar Garcia-Parra, I would not be mad with any of the 2 of those 3. It's Tex and Varitek are the clear cut ones though for me.
Carroll's my only other name on there that is in the mix, but those are my top 5. I don't think
it's the retired numbers. Like, it makes sense.
No, and that's why Varitek is 1-1, and I'm very passionate about this. Jason Varitek's jersey is retired. That means he graduated from Georgia Tech. He has his degree. He got all the retired accoutrements. It's this ridiculously Byzantine process, and he's honored in that way, which I feel is a step above an honored jersey. I don't know what an honored jersey is, to be frank.
That's true. I forgot they did honored.
But retired, I think there's a difference there. That's where I'm
But
at.
Here's the problem. Jason Varitek played for the Red Sox, and therefore he is demoted points.
This is accurate statement. Actually,
Akshay,
here's what I
you
don't
don't
like
even
about
play in the AL East.
the worst part about Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech baseball basically providing the key talent for the mid 2000s AL East does there's a big drawback on the entire organization as a whole, man. Too many. At least Tech's played for us for 2 months.
At least
2 months.
I'm fuming.
Okay. Before
I'm fuming.
before he pops a vein, because I think I see one developing on his forehead.
How would you? Yeah,
Jake, what is your four? What is
round out
your
the edges.
four?
Oh, so my four were Veritech, then Tex, Nomar, and Brown, because again, I wanted a pitcher on there as well. I think it's there's some names that are on the window dressing. Maybe someday we'll be talking about Kevin Parada in this regard.
Oh,
I think they'll need some staying power there, and also significant lack of ACC and or regional championships while he was here is also a ding there. Other names that were floating around in the back of my head, Jim Poole,
Jim.
mostly for ALS type legacy stuff, but also because he was very talented and is in the Georgia Tech Athletics Hall of Fame on his athletic merits there as well. The other name that I wanted to do and just put on my list to quote unquote embrace debate, I only have the biography of one Georgia Tech Hall of Fame baseball player, on my shelf. Do you know who that is?
No.
Akshay?
I should know this, and I don't.
You'll know the name, at least I hope you do, and it's Chip Roberts, because not only for his commitment to Georgia Tech and sports and all that stuff while he was here, but the alumni house is named after him.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Very successful in business and other. It kind of in the like, ooh, Mark Teixeira owns the whole West Side kind of thing. But in terms of that kind of contribution, maybe not as the ESPN, Red Sox Yankees type stat line from childhoods and or College World Series, but definitely something at least to note.
I think it's also note we are doing just players here. We're getting to coaches down the line, which is why Danny Hall was not brought up yet.
Yeah,
and
there is a category.
That's
for
a
coaches.
whole can of worms too.
Yes,
for coaches versus players.
We'll get there.
Just that. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
We'll
I'll let it get there.
Okay. Honestly, if each of these is going to be as spicy as that one, I think we're going to have
this next one. I'm going to defer
couple.
to Jake a lot more because he has the history that I do not have. He's
got the finger pistols out already. So, Mr. Grant, what are your four for football, which is the next category?
I could go really, really spicy here just because I want to start things off with a bang. There is a Georgia Tech College Football Hall of Famer who is still employed by the Institute, who I think needs to be one of the top four.
I believe I know who you're talking about.
Dr. Randy Rhino.
Yeah. He was an automatic for me. Automatic.
Really? Okay, good. Embrace
because
embrace each other.
Because he critically is still relevant. Critically to the actual health and safety of our entire athletic department in terms of on-field performance. That is major. It's under the radar. He's just the team chiropractor. But you kind of have to have one of those. And the fact it's one of our legends that was a 3-time All-American.
First team All-American.
Yeah. No, that's if you
only
don't
one
make
with
it.
Consensus.
Yeah.
You don't make it, especially as a defensive back. Like that's, I don't know. Yeah. I thought that was an easy choice. Yeah, I'm glad
it's an automatic. Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is delightful. I will say
I want people mad at each other.
I will say I'm of the ilk that I think most people, even if they were just picking 4 people who are vaguely associated with Georgia Tech on a list, they're going to put Calvin Johnson on there, even if you're like throwing in like a Jimmy Carter or like Wayne Clough or, like taking in the whole thing. Calvin, I think, makes the list, but I'm not convinced that it's like the lock the door, throw away the key type situation that most others kind of, I guess, associate with
Right.
him. But I think he'd at least be in the conversation for top four. Joe Hamilton, his 1999 season was transcendent. We can talk about effects of maybe current players in development there. I think there is some necessary recognition for Clint Castleberry. He is the only retired jersey that Georgia Tech football has, despite having a pages and pages long list of all Americans, first team or otherwise. And for those who don't know, his life was tragically cut short. Wait, I lied. I have a biography of him too. Dang. Well, only Georgia Tech baseball player was Chip Roberts. Made for good content at the time. Anyways, Castleberry needs to be in consideration. So between Rhino, Hamilton, Johnson, Castleberry, that's my top four. Jack, I'm curious who else you'd have in the mix because I have quite a long list of my like
That's the thing.
after
There's
those
so
four.
many.
I was trying to get a couple different
Yeah.
generations there, and I realized that I didn't actually get anyone who won a national championship with Georgia Tech, of which there's
Well, I was looking at, I forgot what of the list on the media guide that was that the All American list or something else, or no, College Football Hall of Famers, and none of them are from the '90 team. Like,
Mhm.
there's no like, oh, that guy was the 1990 team or like that or anything like that. So there's some names, but it's
Yeah.
nothing's like you don't have the far and away this guy defined this team kind of
Wait,
thing.
Ken Swilling though.
Well, I was gonna get to Ken. Ken was like the next name. I was
Yeah,
like, okay, this feels
he's
right. There's
he's in my
yeah.
yeah.
He's in that haze. Yeah, not in that haze, but in that very good consideration set. Because he's still relevant. His kid's here. Marco Coleman also like still around. Which I think just continues. Like I say, the football part of it, I don't know if that's gonna hold weight, but in terms of the whole context
I
of staying at Tech and being committed to Tech, doing things at Tech past playing days, that
I
counts
think
some for me.
Ken gets a bit of an edge for me, at least if we're talking these two specifics. And like I said, this is now outside my list
List your four.
of four.
Okay, get your
My
four.
list of four is Randy Rhino, Calvin Johnson, Joe Hamilton, and Clint Castleberry. Castleberry is a sucker pick for me. I think if I was going to swap him out for anyone else, it'd be Bill Fincher,
Okay.
who was a John Heisman, Bill Alexander 1918 team member. So
Okay. Mr. Purdy, your full list
For football or this next one?
for football, just so I have it
Football.
on
Oh,
record.
I mean, I was kind of defaulting to Jake here because I really only have Randy and Calvin as the ones that I know for sure. The rest of them couldn't tell you because I did not watch Joe Hamilton. I missed so much. There's so much history here. Like I wouldn't know who to pull from the Heisman era. I'm like, someone has to be from the Heisman era because that invented like the lore of
and
Georgia
okay,
Tech back there. So
one more thing on Fincher, and actually, I think I'd probably maybe game time decision swap him in for Joe. I don't know. I just want to embrace debate again. Fincher, he's listed in the media guide as his position B. Uh, Keep in mind with Castleberry, Fincher, they were playing both because that was before the two platoon system. So that is somebody who was literally playing a full game of football on both sides of the ball. Like that's
yeah, that's yeah. If you're gonna pull an Otani, I feel like that should count.
and you get in the College Football Hall of Fame, win a natty, plus a couple that aren't recognized, and you know play the whole game. I think that's
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry,
I'm good with.
that's and of
I
course
have
there's a couple other names from back then, Joe Gillian, Everett Strupper, but I mean I
yeah.
think Fincher and Strupper, maybe Gillian, those would be my old timer consideration.
Okay, yeah. No,
Next
I'm
four out, so to speak.
Yes. This is
They
March.
have a Mount Rush. They have Mount Rushmore, and then on the other side, they have four more faces that you
Well,
can't
there were
see.
supposed to be more faces in Mount Rushmore, but that's a story for a different podcast.
Men's basketball. Jack, you are up first.
the most obvious guy here is Mark Price. Like that's just far and away has to be him. Stefan
Yeah.
Marbury, big one up there as well. Um, when I started looking at the guys that made the
Wait,
NBA,
you say
what?
Marbury as your second?
Yeah, there's no order here, man. I'm just listing people. Again, this is not tiered. They built this horizontally, not vertically.
Well. There is a natural order to these things.
Yeah, those guys I threw in there. I was looking at the just who's had a long NBA career as well, because college basketball is just there's a high level, there's just some randomness there, and I was surprised to realize that Jarrett Jack has of the longest NBA careers post Tech, and he's stayed relevant as well. So I do like Jarrett Jack in there. Am I biased because his name is Jack? A little bit, yeah.
Isn't he still bouncing
And
around
then
the
four,
NBA too?
no, he's retired a couple years ago, so he's not in the league anymore. Um,
Who am
but
I
he was
thinking
playing
of?
until 2021.
Yeah,
So
it might be.
yeah, he was there a while, and I didn't have a strong four, so I wanted to leave that open, Jake, too. If you had anybody that you could convince me of to fill in for, but I've got Marbury, Price, and Jarrett Jack so far.
Marbury was a one and done. I think that takes him out of it for me completely.
Okay.
Um,
I don't.
I had a
Well,
name. I
also
had a name in
what in
front of Price, and it was one I was about to hint earlier in this podcast that you'd hear this name again. That would be Harpering. That
okay.
is an interesting inclusion, I think. But nevertheless, Matt Harpering did play 4 years at Georgia Tech. He was a first team All American. He's an academic All American as well, 3-time All ACC first team. He was an ACC All Freshman. His jersey's retired. He's the career leader in free throw makes and pretty high up there in points and rebounds as well. And he was a first round draft pick. So I think Matt Harpering is super high on my list. Price and Jack were also in there as well. And then kind of in the mix, Dennis Scott, Kenny Anderson.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Between Dennis and Kenny, I was like, I don't even know, but
I think I'm somebody who favors longevity. I own a Stephen Marbury jersey, love the guy. But I think that in cases of, I guess high breaking sounds a silly way to put it. Dennis gave 3 great years on the flats. So that again is kind of probably where I'd
yeah,
move the needle there.
Neither of you mentioned Bosch. Why
Bosch
is
One
very
and
critical.
done.
Bosch one and done, but very critically, as I've brought this, a couple people brought this up to me, but I didn't put him on some lists. Was that have we seen him on campus? Does he come
Yes.
back?
Yes.
I've seen him 0 times. He
I
does
got a
not.
jersey
He
signed by
signed
him.
my jersey. He signed my
We
jersey.
got a
I've seen
jersey
him at a couple
signed
games.
together.
I don't think you can include Stephon Marbury and not include Chris Bosh.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I mean, Chris Bosh and Georgia Tech are not synonymous concepts, and he doesn't push that. Like you've got to be a Tech guy to last here, and because he won 2 titles with LeBron, we then use it for marketing, which makes perfect sense.
Hey, he programs, he codes, he does some code. Give him
Mhm.
that.
He does.
But
he
I
does.
think Bosch is also here somewhat because of the Ewing effect too.
Yes.
Because as soon as he left, they made a national title run.
Mm,
And then, I mean, I don't know how you square that circle, but there is a level of he was so good and his surrounding cast was so good that he was able to go to the league and they still put together a massive tournament run.
yeah.
So you can put that together how you want, but let's move on. Mr. Grant, you have the first readout, I guess, for volleyball.
Oh, I think this one's pretty easy. Keely Evelyn, Julia Bergman, Mariana Brambilla, Lynette Moster. Easy.
I've got 3 of the 4.
All right. I'm guessing Mosters are different. So who you got in that
No,
slot?
I don't have Brambilla.
Really?
I have Monique.
You
Mead
don't have
instead.
Brambilla.
I have Monique Mead because she was All American 3 or 4 times. Like she
Yeah,
was
but
demolished. Like consistently perfectly good all the way. Like from start to finish is the thing for me. Brambilla in terms of like effectiveness for the program and opening up the international waters to all this, I think she gets major points there. Major points there because then in a lot of ways is reinventing what this team can be. And Bergman was the first evidence of that after that. But I like Monique is top. I mean, yes, rally scoring. I need the media guide to have the two different scoring segments and the leaderboards for each scoring segment because Monique Mead has benefited from extra points and all that kind of stuff. And so she's got her stats padded. Her stats
Did
are
she?
padded.
She was 09 through 2012. Rally scoring went out 20 years ago.
I thought she was way before that.
So, and this is where I make my this is where I'm going to stake my case. Mariana Brambilla, Keely Eveland, um, Lynette Mostert not so much, but and Julia Bergman have one thing in common. What is it? Brambilla, Bergman, and Eveland.
Outside hitting.
Couldn't tell you.
They are all American first team award winners. Monique Mead was a 3-time honorable mention and a 1-time third team All-American. So I think Mariana Brambilla being a first teamer puts her ahead of Mead.
Consistency versus peak. Okay.
I don't think that those early tech teams she was on got the love that they deserved either. So that and I'll go.
Sure.
This is like my pet. This is my pet issue from like 2019, 2020. And I see Akshay laughing because he had to live through all this. But
To be fair, we did a very celebratory podcast while I was in a different state across the country when they won the NIBC. So I remember this era quite well.
I'm not over exaggerating when I say that them winning the NIBC is one of my favorite sports memories. So that's where I'm coming from on this. And I don't think that team got its just desserts.
That's fair. That's fair.
It was a very good team. It was a very good team that played an unfortunately too easy schedule and probably did not deserve to be in the tournament field, but was very, very good at what it did.
Oh, yeah.
Next category, I think we set this one up as a grab bag. So basically any sport that we haven't mentioned thus far. And I think we're just going to kind of come up together with the 6. I actually set this to 6 instead of 4 for this. So, Mr. Purdy, what you got for your set here?
I know we discussed some names before here beforehand. Is this where we're throwing Bobby Jones in? He's in this category.
He's got to be 1-1.
Yeah,
right?
No,
the greatest amateur in any sport of all time.
Yeah, no, it's Bobby's got to be here. You got. I think we've mentioned Nicole Fegan's. I mean, the name that's ever come out of the Georgia Tech track and field team for cross country.
I'd say cross country. Track and field's got some.
Sorry, cross country. Yeah, you're right. There's some big softball names. Jessica Salingers probably should be in here. There's the trio.
I was gonna say Yee, Liver, Williams, and Salinger were my 4 that I had in mind for softball.
Yeah. Williams I like. And then I do just to throw a women's basketball name in there. Lorella Kubas.
Alex Montgomery too.
Alex
from women's
up there.
Basketball.
Yep.
Francesca good
lad.
Mark?
French. I was thinking of draft picks and stuff too. In addition to All-American type considerations, Alex Montgomery and Sasha Goodlett are Tech's 2 first round WNBA draft picks.
There you go. Yeah. I think like does this grab bag exist so we can get Bobby Jones in here? Kind of, yeah.
Well, it was Bobby Jones and Fegan's more or less.
Yeah, Fegan's. I do like Kuchar. Kuchar I do like a lot. Very long, good PGA Tour career.
And if we're talking about commitment and service to the institute, he does have a tennis court named after him.
He does. Yes. Yeah, that's a thing. And then
Sink. I don't know if we mentioned Sink.
Yeah,
he came back in like 2016 and sunk a basketball court long putt for some guy to win like $20,000. Jake, I think we were there, right? You remember that?
I've been to a lot of Georgia Tech sporting events, and I've seen a lot of weird stuff, and I feel like I would remember that. That might have been before I got to campus.
It was pretty wild. If you can find the clip, I would go watch it. It is honest. It's a legitimately long putt. Well, in my opinion, the non-golf watcher, it's a significantly long putt that he nails.
The basketball halftime show entertainment that I remember going viral involved musical chairs, but we don't have to get into that right now.
Also a great video, but yes, we don't have to go into that.
But yes, Bobby Jones, Kuchar, Jenny, Salinger, Vegans.
I mean, there's got to be some tennis names on there too. I just don't have that up
I
in
will
one of
say
my
we talked
many
about this
windows I currently have
before.
open.
We talked about this before with Eubanks, and I think we came to the conclusion that Eubanks was a great player at Tech, but with his pro career, it basically did not pan out much like he thought it would until he won that. He went on that Wimbledon run, and I
Right.
think
Yeah.
what we'd have to see from him is a little bit more longevity to put him in this group.
We need him to back it up. He checks the boxes of like still showing up at campus, being consistent with the program, training here at times when he's in Atlanta. Like he's absolutely through and through a Tech guy. But yeah,
Okay. I've got a tennis one. I knew
okay,
I had a couple in mind.
okay.
Christy Miller, who was singles All-American all 4 years on campus, doubles All-American in '06 and '07, member of that vaunted late aughts Georgia Tech women's tennis team, and also graduated with a perfect 4.0.
There you go. Yeah, that's damn good.
I mean, and like you got some other names on there that come to mind. Irina Falconia, great player. Kenya Jones was a 4 year All-American in between doubles 3 years and singles 3 years, doubles in 18 and
And
singles in
Vicky,
19. Vicky was 2 years in there, but I think, I mean, if we're talking about greatest to ever do it in a sport, Christy Miller's got to be, pretty close to the top of the list there. I'd put that in consideration for the melting pot of other sports that we're currently talking about.
okay. I think we definitely named more than six names in that segment, but
Woo!
I'll take it's a grab bag. I'll take it. Next category. I fashioned this as administrators, but thinking about it a little bit more, the concept of an administrator has not really existed that long, has it? Like an athletic department
No.
administrator.
No.
I mean, Bobby Dodd was the athletic director while being the football coach. Heisman was the every sport coach.
Heisman was like
I'll,
what
I'll,
happens
I'll,
when you like build the entire plane out of black box stuff. Like that's the best metaphor for it.
well, and then you've also got the concept of like, professors doing stuff on a part-time role, but also being coaches and things like that. I think this is really just a way to say, if you want to say administrator, there's truly only been one, I think, who deserves consideration purely for athletic administration contributions, and that's the guy who the National Athletic Director of the Year award is named after.
Homer Rice.
Dog. Homer Rice is 1-1 on this list. I think we came up with a bunch of other names in here as well. I think this was a category that we kind of put together and didn't really do it adversarially. George Griffin was on here. I think that was part of
Yes.
our discussion.
Yeah.
Whether he gets nominated for his track coaching career,
Tennis coaching,
or his tennis coach career, or
cross-country
the
coaching.
cross country invention of cake race. Like you could, and then the fact that he was the dean of students for a number of years, served in 2 wars while affiliated at Tech. Like there's a long
Taught
list of
math.
reasons why you
Taught
could
math. Was a football letter winner. I mean,
That goes on
like,
the
long
Georgia.
list.
That goes on the greater Georgia Tech Rushmore list that we're not doing of everything.
there's a reason he has a statue of himself, right?
Yeah.
And like a building named after him too, right?
I have a note on statues. Oh, we didn't do coaches. When you're literally immortalized like on Mount Rushmore, you should get on this list, which therefore means Dodd and Heisman get on the coaches list for me because we literally Rushmored them in our own way. And then past that, coach wise, I put Bobby Cremens down. And then in terms of
Which he has a court named after him, which
he
is
has a
kind
whole
of the
court.
same vein.
Yes, he did. Yeah, not the statue, but at least. Well, thing is, you can rename a court. You can't rename a statue.
This John Heisman statue has been converted to a Bill Lewis statue. Come on down.
I'm also throwing now. This definitely there's multiple options here, but I'm putting Danny Hall down for now because of the number of names that have come out and just a sheer longevity. Like Jake's down over it with the stats bits every week. Like so many of the wins and just sustained success have come from baseball. They're always an offensive powerhouse. They're not national title winners, anything like that, but in terms of consistently good at everything and being relevant, it's them. Which you could also say, well, golf also has been like that, and women's tennis has been like that too. But I mean, baseball has its grandiosity that the other sports don't have right now. And it's just in terms, and he's now got an honorary degree from Tech. Like we went that far with him. So I like Danny here right now, but I could be convinced out of it.
I have a specific baseball related case. So Heisman, yes.
Yep.
He is all Tech exists as sports entity because of what John Heisman did. Easy. Bobby Dodd, I think that makes sense. He's got an natty. He is the athletic director. His whole ethos of how he, treated and handled, player advocacy, I guess is the way to put that. Like that's total agreement there. Cremens, yeah, I think it generally makes sense. I would go with Jim Morris over Danny Hall. I did this in the mailbag as well because my gut says Danny, right? He's won the most games. He's done all the stuff, but I think when you think about Georgia Tech baseball, yes, Jim Luck, fine coach, Kid Clay, like there's a lot of interesting and notable names from past years, but Jim Morris built the foundation that Danny Hall's success grew out of.
Yeah, I like that.
And 4 ACC wins in a row between regular season and tournament is super compelling for me. I think it was 8 or 9 straight regional appearances in his 11 or 12 years on the flats. Sorry, I don't have. I'm doing this on the fly because I didn't write this out like I did with players. And also a 51 win season.
Yeah,
that's kind of the pinnacle. Omaha or not, 51 games is a lot of games.
That's some Oklahoma softball stuff right there.
Yes, exactly. I think both of the last two both of the last two men who have been women's tennis coaches could warrant some consideration. I mean, winning ITAs and NCAAs is certainly title-worthy achievements. So those staffs have been really consistent over there. Bruce Hepler is perhaps one of the greatest NCAA coaches to not have a natty in any sport, given his consistency. I don't know enough about every sport, especially the ones that Tech does not have. But to be 5 or 6 time NCAA runner-up over, I think, 3 different decades now.
Him and Hall are probably 1-2 in terms of the quality of coaches that we have right now. It's Hall and Hepler at 2 and then 1, and then Collier and then Harmon, right? Probably at those top 4 spots right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because football is new, men's basketball is new. Nell has only been here for 1 recruiting cycle in comparison with the rest of them. Who else am I thinking of? Track, I guess track, they've been here for a while, but they don't have the national notoriety. Swimming, Courtney Shealy-Hart has been here for a while, but same level of lack of national notoriety, except I guess on the men's side. But that's up for debate, I guess. Tennis,
a lot of longevity from Kenny Thorne, but
again, the notoriety, right?
Yeah,
that program. So, yeah,
much to consider. How's that?
Much to consider. I think that's about all we have. I think we did. I mean, I think we had a nice extended discussion out of a mailbag question. So I appreciate you sent that in a couple of days ago, Mr. Grant. Thank you for joining me today. Mr. Purdy, thank you for joining us today as well. Mr. Grant, would you like to take us out?
Yes, sir. As always, you can find us at fromtherumbleseat.com. You can email us fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at FTRSblog. I'm at JakeGrant98. Jack is at Jack Nicholas. You can find Section 103 there as well, at Section 103 or Section103.com. Remember, FTRS 10% off. Keep us in mind when you visit their wonderful site. You can go to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well at From the Rumble Seat. You can find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. Good night, good luck, and go Jackets.